Oh, look at the time. Do you know where your legal AF is? We're after dark. Now, look, sometimes we do commentary and analysis about the intersection of law and politics. Sometimes we are the news. Meidas Dutch, Michael Popak, Michael Cohen, and all, we're cited early in a new motion to dismiss filed by Donald Trump in his last-ditch attempt to avoid sentencing in the 34-count felony conviction in New York. You thought we'd forget about that? Well, we haven't. I practice in New York. I talk about these issues. I know the courts and the procedures. And we bring it to you on Legal AF the only way we know how. Uncensored. Nobody telling us what to say. Not blowing smoke or sunshine. Nobody puts baby in a corner. And here is the most recent episode of Legal AF. And I'm joined by my colleague and guest anchor for the day, Dina Sayegh Dahl. Let's roll it. Did you get a chance to kind of make your way through the 80 pages in New York?
Yeah. So, okay, we're going to start first with his motion to dismiss.
Yeah, let's do that. Why don't you lead on the motion? I'll fill in as a New York lawyer, though, but you lead off on the New York filing that we expected. Judge Merchan had said, you want to bring a motion on equity and justice because he got elected president grounds, which I'll just leave it at this. Because we haven't gotten the Manhattan DA's response yet to this Alvin Bragg, but it's going to be a version of what they told the judge, which is time solves all these problems, Judge. The immunity that he claims for being a president-elect into being president and the interference or impeding with the president's powers is a temporary immunity. It resolves itself. It's like a temporary virus over the weekend. It eventually goes away. And in 4 years, it'll go away. And he'll have no immunity, no supremacy clause, no separation of power. So he shouldn't get the benefit of a permanent dismissal or vacating of his convictions by a jury for the temporary condition of 4 years. It'll seem interminable. It'll seem like it's gone on forever, but it is 4 years. And that's their solution. And we'll see that in their papers. But why don't you walk everybody through what the Trump lawyers, Blanche and Beauvais, are arguing to Judge Merchan?
Yeah, so basically it's kind of what you said. They're really relying on this Department of Justice memo that said no sitting president can be criminally prosecuted, as well as the supremacy clause, the fact that he's a federal officer, the state can't prosecute him. And then he throws in the Hunter Biden pardon because that just had happened. So conveniently for him, he adds it in and says, oh, just like the president says that his son was unfairly prosecuted, you should use that theory to dismiss my case. And he's really using kind of those three arguments. The problem for him is that all of those, well, particularly the first two arguments, we're an interpretation here. This has never actually happened before, right? The Department of Justice memo could apply, but we've never had it where a jury has issued a verdict prior to the fact that a president was even elected. So I actually think that DA Alvin Bragg's willingness to defer everything 4 years is quite an expansive interpretation of that DOJ memo. I think he could say at this point, there's not that much time or effort that Trump will need for purely sentencing or purely appellate arguments regarding immunity. It's not that much of a distraction. And could have kept, asked the Justice Merchan to keep going straight ahead. But it sounds like, based like what you said, they told the judge, they're not going to do that. So if they're going to ask the judge to just defer it, that seems to me that they're giving Justice Merchan like a legal out. That seems very reasonable. And the reason why the Department of Justice memo or the supremacy clause language doesn't really justify a dismissal versus the Jack Smith situation is because, as everyone knows, we've already gone through the trial. We already have a jury verdict. It's not as if they're just starting the indictment. So that's why it's a stretch for Trump to use those really novel. We're in a novel area of the law. Like, you're going to hear a lot of different lawyers give different opinions, like even here on this channel, right? Like, I really maybe am trying to push the limits of what Justice Merchan can do. I think he should go ahead and complete the sentencing now and complete his immunity decision now and not even delay it. But it's because we've never had this happen before, right? But those are his three things. And in terms of his argument regarding the pardoning that, President Biden mentions that his son was unfairly prosecuted. That's an opinion, right, that the president had. It wasn't actually found legally. Trump's situation, no judge found that to be legally unfairly prosecuted. So I don't think that that's going to actually carry any legal weight for Justice Merchan. He doesn't have to take the opinion of a president on a completely separate case into consideration when he decides whether or not to dismiss this case. If a judge had decided that Hunter Biden had been unfairly prosecuted, and based on facts that maybe could be extrapolated toward Trump's case, maybe, but that was really included in the filing for purely political PR purposes, and not for any legal basis that Justice Merchan, I think, will be swayed by.
Yeah, I thought that the 80 pages was just stitched together of warmed over leftovers, week old leftovers in the fridge, sort of stitched together. All of these arguments, they can try to make them on appeal, but none of them make the argument appropriate under the law to vacate, which is what they're asking for. They keep saying dismiss. It's not dismiss. The jury has spoken. You can move for vacatur or vacating of the conviction, which is what they're asking to do. But on what grounds? Well, it's the best of the worst of their arguments. Well, you've got a daughter, Judge. Okay, that works for Democrats. Yeah. Okay, and you're biased. All right, Michael Cohen. When we left out the big thing.
Oh, right,
Salty. I'm in there. I made Russian TV and a footnote in their filing in the last 2 weeks. Michael Cohen is biased and lied under oath. Go watch all his podcasts, including Meidas Touch one involving Michael Popok and Michael Cohen and other ones. Cite. So Michael Cohen, we've heard this before. The jury evaluated Michael Cohen's 3 days of testimony. They got to cross-examine Michael Cohen's 3 days of it. They were not able to prove to the jury, obviously, that Michael Cohen was not telling the truth at that particular time, and to discredit him. They had every opportunity in an adversarial process to do that, and they were not able to do it. So they don't get to do it now, posting about some Meidas Touch and Legal AF podcasts. That's not going to do it. And then they're complaining about, well, the jury was unfair. Well, you picked the jury. We were upset at Meidas Touch and Legal AF. You didn't ask the jury if they got their news from Meidas Touch and Legal AF. We're like, why are we on the questionnaire? We're like, wait, MSNBC and CNN, who are they?
Right.
It's like, and so now, of course, they mention us, right? They make us part of the story. That's going to be our new slogan, Meidas Touch and Legal AF. When there's no story to tell, we are the news. We make the news, right? And so you had that. So Michael Cohen, liar. I've heard this before. Oh, you went after poor Alan Weisselberg, the chief financial officer, the guy that lied under oath and went to jail twice because of it. That guy? Yeah. So that's not going to work with this judge or even with the appellate court. The daughter works for Democratic causes. What's the link between that and the judge being biased? None. And then they got that stretch of an argument about, well, the DOJ guidelines in the Office of Legal Counsel, and when you're a president or you're going to be a president, prosecution should stop. Prosecution has stopped. We're done with the prosecution. We're up to the sentencing. Yeah. Right. And I agree with you. What's left is not much. Yeah. They could sentence and push it off the actual start of the sentence 4 years.
Exactly.
As opposed to push everything off 4 years and have him be 82 years old when he comes out and then sentence him when he's got absolutely no protections. I don't see Merchan. He's seen all these arguments before. They'll have to be raised on appeal. But for now, I think he's going to side. We'll see the paper. Either you and I or somebody else will do it next week. We'll see the paper from Alvin Bragg's office, but they're going to be like, okay, none of this applies to post-conviction, pre-sentencing events. We've never had a president who was convicted about his conduct before he was president the first time get elected a second time. We've never had that before. As you said, it's unprecedented. Yeah. So but time heals all wounds and fixes this problem. And I think that's exactly where Rashawn's going to go. Just to remind everybody, or for those who don't follow it as closely as we do, one more brief comes in a week from Alvin Bragg. The judge has already said, I don't want reply briefs. I don't want back and forth. You do a brief, you do a brief, I'll make the decision. So we're going to get a decision pretty quickly before Christmas about this.
Finally.
And then whoever's the loser is going to take the appeal.
Yeah.
First level appeal, first department here in Manhattan. And then whoever loses that up to the Court of Appeals in New York, and whoever loses that's going to try to take it over to the feds. There's still an argument that he has an issue up on appeal about whether he should have been able to remove this case to federal court, which is long dead as far as I'm concerned. But that's sort of still out there, and that's that. Welcome back, Legal AF. If you didn't know why we called it that 4.5 years ago, now you know. Wednesdays and Saturdays at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. If you know all about Legal AF and how we do our thing like no other, I believe on the internet, there's 50 million people a month who watch some aspect of Legal AF. Well, now you know why. And I invite you personally, if you don't know anything about us, you haven't seen us yet, join us. Popak to you. Hit the free subscribe button. Come join our show on a regular basis. We have a full-length podcast called What Else? Legal AF. Now, we got a new channel on YouTube in collaboration with the Meidas Touch Network. And guess what? We don't blow smoke or sunshine there either. Nobody tells me what to say. I'm Michael Popak, and I'm the chief curator for that channel. Come join us over there. Help build that pro-democracy channel. We need your help now more than ever. And so until our next round of Legal AF, including Popak Live, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on this Meidas Touch station. Couldn't get that out. I'm Michael Popak, and I'm reporting. In collaboration with the Meidas Touch Network, we just launched the Legal AF YouTube channel. Help us build this pro-democracy channel where I'll be curating the top stories, the intersection of law and politics. Go to YouTube now and free subscribe at Legal AF MTN. That's at Legal AF MTN.